Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video. My name is Musa Jallo. In today's video, we're gonna be reacting to another video from the Geographic Bible, and today's video is on South Africa versus Nigeria versus Egypt, country comparison 2022. If you haven't done so already, consider subscribing to the channel. But with no further delay, let's get into the reaction.
Nigeria, Egypt, South Africa, the three richest countries in Africa when looking at their GDP. Welcome back to the Travel Bible. I'm Sam, your narrator for the video. In this video, we'll be comparing three of the wealthiest nations in Africa: Nigeria, Egypt, and South Africa. Then once you've watched the video and dropped a like, of course, we will ask you which one you'd live in, which one you'd visit, and which one you'd avoid. We will compare
Wow, I really want to see this one.
their demographics, geography, economy, infrastructure, and quality of life. And of course, we'll throw in some interesting facts along the way. So sit back, relax, and we hope you learned something new. So let's start off by looking at their geographical locations within Africa. So Nigeria is located towards the northwest of the continent on the Gulf of Guinea. The capital city is Abuja. Egypt is located in the northeast of the continent and links Africa to the Middle East. The capital city is, of course, Cairo. And then we have South Africa, which is a country on the southernmost tip of the African continent, marked by several distinct ecosystems. Now, South Africa actually has three capital cities. So we have Pretoria, Cape Town, and Bloemfontein.
I feel like in that case, they're like one of the most unique country that have like three different capitals. I don't know if it worked. I don't know why they do it. But I feel like it's really so good.
And ways of life. So let's start off by looking at some statistics about their demographics. Starting off, of course, with their population. So, starting with the lowest out of the three, we have South Africa with just over 59 million people.
Wow, they're like almost 60 million though. That's pretty big.
Putting them as the 25th most populated nation on Earth, above Myanmar and below Tanzania. Next, with over 102 million, we have Egypt,
Wow.
making them the 14th most populated country on Earth, behind the Philippines and above Vietnam. And then finally, the most populated out of the three, and by far the most populated African nation, we have Nigeria, with an incredible 206 million people.
Man, there is a lot of Nigerians now. Like 206 million people. Oh my god. That's so much people though. Oh my god.
Putting them behind Brazil and significantly above Bangladesh, making them the 7th most populated country in the world. Before we move on, let's take a quick look at the predicted populations of these three nations in the year 2050. Now, this one is nuts. So, Nigeria is predicted to rise from its 206 million people today to an astonishing 400 million people by the year 2050.
Okay, that's crazy, like by 2050 they expect the population to double in size, That's that's really crazy. Oh my god. That's a lot of people though.
50. Is it even possible for a country of Nigeria's size to sustain a population growth that extreme in less than 30 years? Egypt is expected to rise to around 138 million. Again, a big increase, but nothing compared to Nigeria.
Nope.
And finally, South Africa, whose population is estimated to rise to around 68 million people.
Really? That's really so low though. But South Africa is like a pretty advanced country in like most advanced countries. Like the economy, I don't know, not the economy, but like the population, it grow really so slowly though. But like that's really so little also, compared to the other country.
Which is roughly what the UK is today. By the year 2050, India will be the world's most populated nation with an unbelievable 1.6 billion people. Alright, so let's now take a look at their population densities. So to no surprise, Nigeria is the most densely populated out of the three, with roughly 215 people per kilometre squared. Next, we have Egypt with roughly 99 people per kilometre squared. And then finally, the least densely populated out of the three, South Africa, with a much more pleasing 47 people per kilometre squared. However, in some of the poorer neighbourhoods across South Africa, this would likely be much higher. Next, let's take a look at the life expectancy for these three countries. Now, this one actually took me by surprise. So Nigeria comes in with the lowest life expectancy at roughly 59 years. Next,
That's pretty low though, like 59, that's really so low. It's not low compared to the other country in Africa, but compared to places like Norway, it's pretty low.
we have South Africa with roughly 64 years, and then Egypt with just over 73 years. And finally, let's take a look at the average age of the population in these three countries. So again, to no surprise, Nigeria has by far the youngest population at just 18.1, meaning that the average inhabitant in Nigeria is only just...
Okay, based on the average age of like Nigeria, it kind of makes sense why the population is gonna grow like so much in the coming years, because like almost everybody's like the average age is like 18 years old, so that means like the population is like really gonna grow in the coming years. But South Africa, they are like 27, they are pretty young also compared to other European countries, but they are still like really old compared to Nigeria and Egypt.
an adult. Next, we have Egypt at again a very young 23.6. And then finally, the oldest out of the three, South Africa, with just over 27. The highest median age in the world, excluding Monaco, as this is where the mega rich go to retire, is Japan at under 49 years.
Wow.
Okay, cool. So let's now move on to the geography of these three countries. Again, they are completely different, so it makes a very interesting comparison. First, let's take a look at their total land area. Nigeria has just under 911,000 kilometers squared, meaning that they are by far the most populated nation with the smallest land area out of the three. And then not far off 1 million kilometers squared, we have Egypt. And then finally the largest out of the three, but with the smallest population, South Africa, with just over 1.2 million kilometers squared. I actually didn't realize that South Africa was so big. I could have sworn Egypt was bigger. Cool, so now let's take a look at the percentage of their landmass that's covered in forest. The northern region of Egypt is bounded by two deserts, meaning that it has just 0.1% of its land covered by forest.
That is like really so light, about 0.1% covered by forest. But like they are in the Middle East also, it's a desert, so I don't know what do I expect now. But it's like really so later.
Next we have South Africa with just 7.6%, and then finally Nigeria with the most at 9.5%. It's quite crazy that Nigeria wins this one with a single digit percentage. And finally for geography, let's now take a look at how much coastline these three countries have. So with an absolute minuscule 850 kilometers, we have Nigeria, the least out of the three. Next we have Egypt at around 2,400 kilometers. And then just under 2,800 kilometers, we have South Africa. And you sure as hell will not catch me swimming in their waters. I'll stay well away from the great white sharks. Okay, so let's now move on to the economy and some financial statistics about these nations. Now the reason that we chose these three countries is that they have the three highest GDPs in all of Africa. So let's have a look to see who wins this one. So let's start off with the lowest out of the three, which is Egypt with just over 317 billion US.
Man, that is pretty impressive also, but like given their population size, it's a little bit on the lower end, but it's pretty good also,
dollars, making them the 40th wealthiest nation on earth, behind Colombia and above Bangladesh. Next, we have South Africa with just over 351 billion, making them the 37th richest country on earth, behind the Philippines and above Denmark. And there we have it, the richest nation on the African continent, Nigeria, with around 474 billion US dollars as their GDP,
Wow.
making them the 26th wealthiest country in the world, behind Sweden and above Argentina. Now let's take a look at the GDP per capita. So this is the total GDP.
Like for the GDP per capita, I'm gonna guess South Africa is gonna come on top,
Divided by the population. So taking the win here, we have Egypt at just over 14,000
Really? That's impressive though.
dollars per person. Then just behind we have South Africa with just below 14,000.
Oh.
And then trailing quite behind we have Nigeria with just over $6,000 per person.
But if you look at Nigerian population, also that is not bad, like 6,000. But like Egypt, they are like way in front of Nigeria and other places now.
Alright, so if you're South African, you better cover your ears for this next one. We'll now take a look at the youth unemployment rate of these three countries. So of course, the lower here, the better. So with 12.4%, Nigeria actually takes the win here, followed by Egypt.
Oh my. Okay, this one I wouldn't have guessed this one. Yeah, like just 12.4%. Okay, 12.4% is like pretty high, but like compared to South Africa and like Egypt, that I feel like they have like a pretty advanced economy, I wouldn't have expect this to be like this. This is like really impressive. People sleep on Nigeria, but Nigeria is crazy, man. Like that's really
with
good,
just under 30%. Now, if you thought Egypt's 30% was high, then think again. South Africa has an astonishing 53% youth unemployment rate.
It's like nobody's working in the country like the youth, Like half of them is literally
Making them by
unemployed.
far the highest in the world. If you are South African and you're watching this, then please let us know in the comments as to why this is so high. We'd love to hear from you guys. And finally, for economy, let's look at how much national debt these three countries are in. This is the total percentage of their GDP owed in debt to lenders. So with just under 22%, Nigeria takes the clear win here, meaning that they have the biggest economy with the youngest workforce and the least debt.
Man, like shout out to Nanja, shout out to Nanja. This is like really so impressive. Oh my god, I wouldn't expect this. So like South Africa is like they are like building the economy on debt, but Egypt like their debt is like even more than their own GDP. Oh, that's crazy, man.
Next, we have South Africa at 53%. And then finally, Egypt with by far the highest out of the three with 103%. And now let's quickly fire through some infrastructure stats, which South Africa completely dominates. So, South
Yes.
Africa has by far the highest percentage of their population who are internet users. South Africa has by a country mile the most roadways at 750,000. South Africa also has the most railways at 21,000 kilometers. And finally, South Africa has by far the most airports with a very impressive 566. And finally, to end the video, let's take a look at some quality of living stats and facts. The variation between these three countries here is crazy. So, starting off with the percentage of their adult population that is classed as obese. So Nigeria takes a clear win with just under 9%, followed
Oh my god, this look really so bad. Like I feel like also like something like the more advanced the country is, like the more people are like so overweight. Because I remember back home when I was back home in Sierra Leone, like if you want to go to again take the taxi or the bus, you have to walk like maybe 15-20 minutes to get to where you have to go to like where the bus is parked for you to go and get on them. And sometimes if you go there during the rush hour, people are like fighting. Oh, let me get on. Oh, let me. Like it's like really so crazy. People are like fighting. To like get on them. So like all those things, people are like burning calories. And like people walk to go places. And our food that we eat in Africa also like is healthy. Sometimes like the poorer the country is, the less access they have like the all the junk food, like the burgers, like the fries, like pizza and stuff like that, which is like just a lot of calories with not so much like nutrition for your body. Nigeria will be considered kind of like the least wealthy or the least advanced of these two countries, but it kind of makes sense. Like they are like the least obese people, But it's crazy, man.
by South Africa with just over 28%. And then finally, the most obese nation out of the three, Egypt at 32%, making them the 11th most obese nation in the world. Next, we'll look at the percentage of their population that has access to improved water sources. So to my surprise, Egypt actually takes the win here.
Man, this is impressive. Like I feel like it's not even fair to compare them, because like in some other places, like Egypt do really well. In some other places, South Africa do well. When it comes to like the economy, Nigeria kick everybody butt, But like I don't know, I feel like it's not fair to compare them, But like this is like really so impressive.
99.4%, followed by South Africa with just over 93%, and then finally Nigeria with 68.5% of their population having access to clean water. And finally, to end the video, let's now take a look at the percentage of their population that is under the poverty line. So with a staggering 70%, Nigeria has by far the highest out of the
That's why it's not good to like look at the GDP or the GDP per capita, because it doesn't like really tell the full story, If everybody in Nigeria was making like more than $6,000 a year, for example, even though that's a really low GDP per capita, they would have been like way more wealthier than this, But like man, South Africa is pretty advanced, Like this one, I'm not even so much surprised by this one because Nigeria is like a really big country, And like I don't know much about Nigeria. I haven't been there before, but I know like it is one of the most unequal country in Africa. Like you have rich people who are really, really, really so rich, and then you have like people who are like really, really so poor. So like that's why even though they are like doing better economically, but maybe just few people that are really enjoying that money. So like 70% of the population live below the poverty line. That's really so bad. But South Africa, I know there is a lot of inequalities also in South Africa, but overall, this is like really impressive.
3, followed by Egypt with 28%, and then South Africa with around 16.6%. So of course Nigeria has the most poverty, but it also has the biggest GDP, the biggest economy, and the most youthful workforce. So there is hope on the horizon for Nigeria. It's just a matter of whether they can withstand and sustain the huge population growth they're about to experience over the next few decades. So now it's your turn. Let us know in the comments section below which one you'd live in, which one you'd visit, and which one you would avoid and why.
To be honest with you, I cannot choose, because like Nigeria is my baby, South Africa is my baby, Egypt is my baby. I love all these countries, so I cannot choose between them. But like honestly, I will say like there are some things Nigeria can learn from South Africa, and there are some things South Africa can learn from Egypt, and there are some things Egypt can learn from Nigeria. So like we should all just come together and learn from each other as Africans. Try to take the continent forward because I feel like that's what we need. But overall, it was a really, really nice video. Very informative for me. A lot of new things I learned in this video that I didn't know. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, remember to like it, comment down below. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.